I think this should be episode 3, right?
This is episode number 3.
Episode 3 of the
Cultural Cachet podcast. We back at it again. Cultural Cachet, where we chronicle Chicago, have candid conversations about culture, hospitality, and nightlife. Excited to have another great guest on the show. Dear friend of mine, colleague, somebody that I've worked with in the past, founder of Nolen Entertainment, general manager at the Found Hotel, no puns intended, and just, stand-up dude and someone who's gonna, set off our series on being black and hospitality as we approach Black History Month. So, it's my pleasure to introduce to the podcast Mr. Brian Nolen.
Thank you.
What's going on, brother?
Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you. All right. This has been long overdue, but also perfect timing for us to get into this episode of the podcast. So Brian, like we typically do with guests on the podcast, it's we want to learn about your trajectory in this industry, how you got into the industry, how you were connected to the city of Chicago. And for this episode, what it means to be, black in hospitality, right? To be a black man, in a leadership position in this world, in this space, but then also get into your adventures as an entrepreneur and somebody who's in the entertainment space, putting people on, giving people platforms to perform, to share their talent, but also running a business and taking a hospitality approach to this business as well. So we'll get into all of that in the conversation and as, whatever else comes about. But, first off, just tell us your origin story. I believe you're a native Chicagoan or?
I am.
Yeah. Okay.
South suburbs.
Okay.
Some people don't count that. Hazelcrest.
Okay, I'm from Markham.
Oh, right down the street. Okay. Thornton? Thornton High School? Okay.
No, I went to Bremen.
Okay.
I went to Bremen, yeah.
So product of the south suburbs via Chatham. My parents grew up in Chatham. We moved to the south suburbs when I was 5. Got into music right away. That's kind of the short answer to how I got into all of this was through music. Started playing the trombone in 5th grade, piano as well. Went to private school. And then in 7th grade, the private school I went to wasn't in my neighborhood. Okay. So I really wasn't making a lot of friends in the neighborhood. So
I'm assuming predominantly white private school, or was it mixed?
It was small. So it was mixed, really. Okay. It was probably 60-40.
Okay.
But I just wasn't mingling in the neighborhood, right? So I went to my parents and said, hey, can I go to public school in the neighborhood so I can make some friends in the neighborhood? It was like, all right, go for it. And so 7th grade, I went to Prairie Hills Junior High, Markham, Illinois. And started playing in the jazz band. Okay. And that's when everything kind of took off from there. Fell in love with the music, started listening to the music a lot and really trying to figure it out.
Specifically jazz?
Specifically, yeah.
Why jazz?
I don't know. I think that it seemed fresh to me because prior to that, I only really knew like basic, starter music, right? So what they call like etudes and things like that, and then hip hop. I really wasn't familiar with any other types of music in that way outside of like what my parents played on the radio or things like that. But this just felt different. I can't really describe it. And so I remember I was sitting next to, I don't remember the gentleman's last name, but his first name was Ishmael. And he was really good. Okay. So I went to my director, I was like, hey, how do I get good like Ishmael? I want to sound like him. He's like, man, you got to listen to music and you have to kind of really digest it. So I ran home and, grabbed my dad's albums and started listening to them and just fell in love, became a little bit better player. And then after that, I went back to private school rather, for my 8th grade year. And then when things really took off, I went to Homewood Flossmoor High School, which is in the south suburbs. And I met my best friend to this day, Jason Patterson, and Christopher McBride, who's a professional musician now. And we formed they already had a band, but we formed a band all together in high school called Musical Vibrations. Okay. So we cut an album. We
nice.
played it. Yeah, we played at weddings, retirement parties. We had our own shows.
This is all through high school?
It's all in high school, throughout the south suburbs and a few things in the city. And, like that was our thing. I quit track to do that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you were all in.
Yeah, I was all in. So I was I was a mediocre track athlete. I wasn't I was no Usain Bolt. But
what was your event? What was your race?
I was 4x8 and open 800.
I consider distance.
It's mid distance.
Yeah, that's a long run.
It's a tough race. It's a really tough race. You got to pace properly and all that good stuff. But I was missing track practice on Saturdays to rehearse with the band. So my track coach was like, "Hey man, which one is it gonna be? You either gonna play the horn or you gonna run." And I was like, "Well, I'm probably better at the horn than I am running." So
at this point, are you thinking your trajectory is full professional musician?
Yeah, I'm thinking minimum college scholarship. So I was like, all right, let me focus in. So kept playing. Went off to school, went to Millikan University, which is a small liberal arts school in Central Illinois. And then
that liberal arts hospitality pipeline, it strikes again.
Yeah, I think there's something there.
There's definitely something there. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But there's definitely something there.
So lots of theater majors, music, political science, all of that good stuff. And then I continued in the jazz band, continued into playing in the wind ensemble, like orchestra type band as well. And then, so at that point, I was going to be a recording engineer. That was my track that was called commercial music. And I realized that all the people in that major had already had a lot of previous experience with soundboards and cables and patch cables and all of that stuff. I felt a little behind, and I wasn't quite getting the support I needed out of that track. So I went to my advisor, and I switched to music business. Okay. And that felt more like where I belonged. Business classes, music classes. But right around that time, I began to realize this was a private college, which I don't, anyway, we'll talk about that later.
I want you don't recommend?
Too, you know what I'm saying? I don't recommend that.
Private school?
Private college.
Same. I went to a private school, yeah.
It's a little bit of a hot take, but I won't go down that path right now. We'll get back to it. Yeah. But I realized that my debt was piling up, and I started looking at like what my job options were. At that time, I wanted to be work A&R for a label, okay. Artist and repertoire, which essentially is, you're a talent scout for a record label. Sure. So I started thinking through that, and I'm like, well, it's probably going to take an internship. Do I really want to be in my parents' basement, not making much money? Let me get a job. So I started working for AT&T. Now, this is still down in Decatur, Illinois. And once I started working, I kind of lost touch with music, right? I was just dialed in on being an adult, providing for myself, trying to climb the ladder in corporate. So that lasted about 5 years. Then at that point, I moved back to Chicago. It's 2013. My father and I, we opened up a battery store. I don't know if I've ever told you this.
Nah.
Yeah. So
a battery store?
Yeah. So
like car batteries or
all batteries.
Oh wow, okay.
So cars, trucks, laptops, watches, golf carts, hearing aids, boats, you name it, digital cameras. There was a battery franchise out of Detroit called Battery Giant. I don't know if you ever heard of Batteries Plus.
No.
Okay. So anyway, it's like two major players in the battery retail space. It was Batteries Plus and Battery Giant. So we bought into Battery Giant. Won't necessarily go down that path, but didn't work out. And so at that point, right when Battery Giant started, that's when I reconnected with my buddy Christopher McBride, who I mentioned earlier, and started going to lots of different music shows. I wasn't getting live music down in Central Illinois, so started going to shows, meeting people, networking, and the way Nolen Entertainment actually started was one of my other good buddies, he's a comedian, Ron Baker Jr., there was this martini lounge in the south suburbs, Tinley Park, called Intimo. They're no longer there. Okay. But on Mondays, they used to do, if you can believe it, $5 martinis.
Uh-oh.
Unheard of.
Sound like trouble.
Oh, big trouble. So after I shut down Battery Giant on Mondays, I'd meet him up there, and we would just hang out, sit at the bar. And they had like a private room, pretty similar to this size. Maybe not as wide, but definitely similar to this space. And he was like, man, you know all these jazz musicians, why don't you like just start doing live jazz in here? I was like, all right, let's do it. Okay. So I talked to the owner, he made me a deal, and Jazzing in the south suburbs was born. Then it changed to the Real Music series. Okay. And so that's where my promoting, producing chops started there. Okay. In that venue.
So what year are we talking about at this point? Are we still like 2014?
Yeah,
20,
yeah.
Okay.
This was 2014 when I first started.
So off top, I'm sensing a couple of themes in your story.
That was a long week.
No, but that's how it goes, right? We want to get the backstory and piece it together. Yeah. I'm getting a strong sense of family. Yeah. Right? Whether it's school, professional work, entrepreneurship, your family's kind of like tapped in and dialed in the whole way. Is that
I would
safe
say
to
so.
say?
Yeah.
Right?
I would say that.
I'm definitely getting a entrepreneurial spirit.
Yep.
Right? And then I'm getting a sense of back and forth from what your passions are and what you kind of got to do to get to your passion, right? So this is, one of the themes I'm picking up off top, and something I can relate to very much. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. Yeah. So at this point, now you're in the space, Martini, what's it called?
Intimo.
Yep. Producing, a reoccurring show on Mondays.
Yeah. So actually, the shows were on Thursdays. Okay. And believe it or not, well, it's hard for me to believe now, being an old man, but I was doing every single Thursday. So every Thursday, I was bringing in a new jazz group, and that lasted. I'm not quite sure how long, but initially there was no charge. And this, we can talk more about kind of the nightlife industry and the details of it all, because a lot of people probably don't know how these deals work. But at that time, the bar was essentially giving me a stipend, and I was to book talent with that. Okay. And they would recover the costs on liquor sales. Yeah. Correct. So in my mind, to make for maximum turnout, there was no cover. And that lasted for, let's call it, a year.
Every Thursday for a year.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was.
Yeah.
But the advantage of that particular situation was, my networking chops were getting stronger. My network with musicians was growing. The downside was that there was no money to be made, right? It just wasn't there. And so I'll never forget, I essentially blind emailed Jake Austin at the Promontory. Okay. He was the talent buyer there at the time. I think he was all the way until they went out of business this year.
Rest in peace,
yeah,
Promontory.
Rest in peace, Promontory. Yeah, for sure. Iconic venue in the city. I was just like, hey man, I'm like new to this promotion game. I really want to pick your brain. Can you give me 5 minutes? And he did. He said, hey, stop by. And he literally gave me 5 minutes. He said, hey man, if you want people to take your event seriously, you got to charge, right? Like, nobody's going to take it seriously if there's no cover. He was like, charge $5, just see what happens. And outside of me working with him, booking shows at the Promontory, that was the last conversation we ever had.
Okay.
From there, it didn't take off, but it actually put me in the headspace where I needed to be. So I started charging $5, and it got better. Then I realized, no offense to my very close jazz community in the city, but people don't support live jazz the way they do singers that sing songs we're familiar with, right?
So the live shows didn't include any like vocalists at all up until this
They did
point?
not. No,
Okay.
not
Okay.
they did not. It was all like what you would call straight ahead jazz, traditional jazz. Everything was in that vein. And I was like, I got to get an R&B group in here. And I don't remember the first R&B group I booked, but once there was a singer playing Frankie Beverly and Mays, now we were talking, right? Now we're getting 20 people.
What is the like the demographic? I'm assuming this is mostly people of color, black folks.
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
But then are we talking about, old heads? We talking about younger folks? We talking about, I mean, I guess at that point you were younger too. So
Yeah,
what's the age range?
It really varied, right? There were the young people that my network, right? They wanted to support me. But then there were a lot of times there were the older crowd that actually supported the band.
Got you.
Yeah, so it was typically kind of a mix, but the cocktails were good and the ambiance was nice. So it made for a pretty cool event.
Okay.
And so the Real Music series lasted until about 20. Oh man, I don't remember. I need to be better with my dates, but maybe like 2017.
Okay.
I took a year off. Then I came back in 2018 and did it for another year.
At the same venue.
Yes, at Intimo.
Okay.
And then right around that time is when I started working with Reggie's
Word.
in the South Loop.
Bass.
For
What's up?
something like that, like, what's the cadence that you like do for these events? Like, how much
Now?
time in between each?
Well, when I first started, up until for the first 4 or 5 years, it was weekly. I was doing it every Thursday, and I'm glad you brought that back up because the problem with weekly events, at least from my experience, was that there was no sense of urgency for the guests.
I'm so happy you said that.
Yeah.
I'm so happy you said that.
Yeah,
I was
there
in
wasn't.
Dallas, and I was supposed to be working with this group of guys who had this brilliant idea. The weather's always nice in Dallas, and they had this idea of bringing out a bunch of people to play volleyball, drink, all of this type of stuff. Beautiful event when I went for the first time. But then they were like, we're going to do this every week. And I'm like, yo, if y'all do this every week and somebody like knows y'all doing it every week, they'll be okay with missing one. You know what I'm saying? And they'll be like, oh, I'll just catch the next one. And then it makes, people not have that sense of urgency to pull up versus if you do this probably monthly, you can do all types of little itty bitty ticks up in the prices of things. And so, okay, go ahead, continue.
Yeah.
No,
No,
but it's
you're
also
absolutely right.
ironic how quickly those monthlies creep back up, because because a monthly feels like, oh, you got plenty of time,
Yeah.
but then
You don't.
That next month rolls around so quick. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you got off of that weekly schedule, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you took the words right out of my mouth, right? Like, people were saying, oh, I just catch them one next week. Yeah, you here every week, right? Okay, I'll be there next week. And, they don't show. So, yeah, it's important to create demand, create a sense of urgency. In order to do something weekly, it has to be really, really special. And there are some people out there that are doing it.
The Chicago Bulls are doing it. It's got to be
Bulls,
that special.
Yeah, Don Ski does a weekly comedy event. The Funny People at Bartenders, very nicely attended, great comedians. So it can be done, but he's a legend in the game. So
I was about to say, I ain't heard that name Don Ski in a minute. Shout out to Don Ski.
yeah, he's a legend. I mean, he's been doing this forever.
You even know, Mace, you know who that is?
No idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, check him out.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he good people too. Yeah, real good people.
Don Ski, like, just to know how OG Don Ski is,
Yeah.
Don Ski introduced Kevin Hart to the Chicago market.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Where's he? What side of Chicago he's in?
He's
He's in the burbs now, right? Or
yeah, I think he might be in the burbs now, but yeah, I mean, he's promoted comedy shows, Twister, Do or Die. I mean, he's old school. Like,
Well, I guess
He's got
the
a lot of
next question I
connections.
got then
Yeah.
is like, I could understand just by the way y'all describing them that the talent is 100% there, but
Yeah.
I don't know how you can sustain something for this long without the business being there too. So like, just
Yeah.
based off what y'all know about him and his team and what it is he's doing and the venues he's at, like what little things can y'all pull away from what he's been able to develop that makes sense for hospitality? Like, yeah, this is how you accomplish that.
yeah, no, that's a great question. I think with any business, you know, but I could probably say specifically and especially for hospitality, network, right? Like, who do you know, and what do they have to say about you? Because you know, you can know a lot of people, but they're like, hey, that guy, I don't really know about him. You know, last time we worked together, it wasn't a good experience, or whatever the case may be. Then it can be bad for you. But yeah, I think that he has an extremely robust network. Leon Rogers is the host every week. You know, decorated radio personality. So that alone, right? Like the fact that they are partners in it really helps. You know, if I ask Leon to host a show, he's gonna ask me for $10 million. You know, shout out to Leon. But you know, it's so I think it really points back to your network and your ability to work with others well.
So, okay, so let's segue into that. It's one thing to have a relationship. It's another thing to forge a relationship, right? And it's another thing to nurture a relationship and grow a relationship. You pivoted from Intimo to Reggie's.
Yes.
How did that come about? Why did you make the pivot? Is it because you relocated to the city again?
Great
or
question.
Why from Intimo to Reggie's, and how did that come about?
So, network again, and I'm gonna do my best to properly name drop. I want people to get their respective flowers. There was at the time I was working with a good friend of mine and an artist. Her name is Amber Ronay, and so she was doing she had a private function. I think it was a wedding or a birthday party that I had booked her for, and I needed a bass player. And so I reached out to a gentleman named Brandon Stevens, who, if anybody's in music and you watching this don't know who Brandon Stevens is on bass, you should check him out. He's extremely talented. Really, really good dude as well. So he was playing, I saw him play for the first time with a group at Intimo. I believe it was Miss Philly, who's also a vocalist around the city. And I met her through somebody else. So that's how that goes. But I called him for a gig. He said, hey, man, I can't make the gig. I'm booked. But this other artist I play for, his name is Brandon James. He wants to play at Intimo. He wants you to manage him, and he wants you to help him with this series at Reggie's. I was like, whoa, okay, hold on. Let's go one thing at a time. So I hopped on the call with Brandon, and you know, he was like, you're going to manage me, and that's what it's going to be. And we went to coffee, and I was like, all right, let's see how this goes. So he came to Intimo, he performed, and part of us working together was that he wanted me to help him with the series he had at Reggie's called Soulful Sundays. Okay. And so that was my first introduction to Reggie's. Essentially, he wanted my help with producing the show and doing some talent buying. And that was 2018. I don't remember what month. I want to say maybe like March of 2018, and we did our first Soulful Sunday. And I believe I booked Kia Trammell and a poet/host named Rika G, I believe. I think that was the first person I booked, both extremely talented folks. And from there, it just kind of took off. And I decided to stop doing Intimo and focus on Reggie's because I felt like the venue was better. I felt like people respect a city venue differently than they do a suburban venue.
Of course.
Yeah. And suburbanites are willing to travel into the city. City dwellers don't really go to the suburbs.
Yeah, facts.
So it kind of just made sense. And so Brandon and I did Soulful Sunday, from 2018 until 2023. So what's that? 5 years?
5 years.
Yeah.
5 years.
We took about 6 months off during the shutdown of 2020. And then we went our separate ways around 2023, I believe. And then I started doing my own series at Reggie's. So that's the long answer to a short question.
So once again, themes of relationship building, pivoting, making adjustments.
Yeah.
So you're now at 2023.
Mm-hmm.
How do you end up here right now?
Yeah.
How do you end up managing, a hotel in River North? How did that come about?
That's a great question. Go back to my career. After AT&T, there was Battery Giant. Mm-hmm. After we closed Battery Giant, I started working for Venmo. Okay. Payment app company owned by PayPal. They had an office right here down the street, actually, at the Merchandise Mart. And so had previous customer support leadership experience. And so my goal was to get into a company and, become a leader again. So that's what I did with Venmo. Started as a customer support representative, then moved into management. I led a team of customer support agents, and then I moved into vendor operations. So at the time, Venmo had a relationship with a third-party call center in Central Illinois, ironically. And so once that partnership was solidified, I went down there I lived in Peoria actually for about 8 months and helped manage that relationship, kind of get them on board with our policies and do some quality auditing and things like that. And then after that, I came back to Chicago and was still in management there. And so if you can imagine in 2020, PayPal probably had its best year ever, right? People weren't touching money. Right. My cousin lost their job. I'm sending them $30. Grandma sending nephew $40, right? So
a lot more transactions. A lot more
transactions. People purchasing things online exclusively. So their numbers were through the roof. 2021 was also a pretty good year. They overshot things in 2022.
Of course.
And including my tenured salary. And so, they called me one day, virtually, because we were working exclusively remote at that point, and it was like, hey, yeah, you're done. I was like, oh, wow, okay. But with my, over a decade of experience, surely I can find a job with no issue, right? It won't be a problem. But it was.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it was. As I mentioned earlier, you name a tech company, I applied, had multiple rounds of interviews, 5, 6, 7 projects, special projects, meet with the CEO, CFO, go through all the things, and didn't make it. And what I figured out was that, you know, everybody's purse strings were tight back then. They're tight now too, but people were just hiring from within, right? But the ethical thing to do is to post a job.
Sure.
And if, you know, you got a halfway decent candidate, you got to hear them out. So that's what I was butting up against. So I was becoming quite frustrated. And then, like I said, as I mentioned, one day I just woke up and was like, wait a minute, I should be in the hospitality industry, right? Like, I do this for Nolen Entertainment, right? I produce shows, I work with the artists, I work with the venue, I'm working with the guests. I should probably be in hospitality.
So where did that come from? Because ultimately, the role that you're playing as a curator, as an event producer, as a talent buyer, doesn't necessarily have to be looked at as hospitality, right? People don't always take that hospitality approach. So I'm a big believer that hospitality, for the most part, has to be something that's already innately in you.
Yeah.
So you think this is because of how you were raised? Do you think, where do you think I should be in hospitality just comes from?
Nah, that's a very astute observation. Yeah. I feel like, you know, one of the things that stands out about me and that, you know, I feel like make me, you know, different is that I am, you know, the buzzword is obsessed, but I am with the guest experience.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I take that very seriously, and the guests in any hospitality setting are the lifeblood of your business, right? So I found that, you know, even though the guests might not be at that particular show to see me perform, it is a Nolen Entertainment event. So the guests should be comfortable, right? Like, did the server stop by? This chair is wobbly. Let me get you another one, right? It came natural to me because if you make the guests happy, then they start positively speaking about your business when you're not around. And that's the best form of marketing, always will be, free.
Did you feel like with the venues that you were working with that they noticed and appreciated that element that you were bringing? Did they take it for granted, or was it something that they were open about? Yo, we appreciate you bringing this element.
I think it was noticed. I think that they noticed that there weren't ever problems at my shows.
Okay.
I don't know if they necessarily knew it was because of me per se. I do know that, you know, any place I've gone, the staff enjoys working with me because I understand their position in the business as well, right? So, you know, sound man, like, if there's some feedback, right? I'm not in the sound man's face, you know, what are you doing? Get it together, right? Like, I understand people make mistakes, right? So I try to be easy to work with. So I do feel like that has been noticed. Have I been given any gold stars? I wouldn't say that, but I do think they do pick up on it.
I want to add on to Boye's question and ask you, like, do you think they care about someone, right? Because I'm the same way, right? I'm very much so the exact same way. Like, when I think hospitality and what I want to do in it, and the reason why I want to be in it is because exactly what you said. Like, it's something that when you serving a couple that's on a date night, you know, when they're genuinely enjoying themselves, it hit different.
You feel good.
You feel that.
Yeah, I agree.
And
100%.
And to Boye's question, do you think that, like, they notice that? Do you think that they care about that? From your experience dealing with the higher ups, what is it that they put first and foremost on their care list?
Well, I would say that's a great question. I would say, so here and I'll get back to your question how I landed here, but I would say here at Found, for sure, right? I mean, the guest experience is paramount, and so I do know that that's noticed. That's easy to see because you can look at guest reviews and, you know, complaints or lack thereof. So it's kind of easy to tell if there's somebody at the helm that's, you know, concerned about the guest experience. In Nolen Entertainment, I don't think it's as visible. because the metrics are different, right? The metrics are around the cash register ring out. So those dots can be connected, but I don't think that they connect them as well. I think they look at it, hey, did we hit X or did we not? So yeah, I think that's.
It's unfortunate being
yeah.
the one that cares sometimes.
Yeah.
You said it's unfortunate when they don't care.
No, it's unfortunate being the one that cares at times.
Yeah,
Because,
it can
you know,
be, but I also think that, right, like what one man's trash is another person's treasure, right? You know, so it's like, yeah, you could say, oh man, you know, Brian's always nice and caring about the guests. And it's like, well, yeah, that's my job, right? That's what I'm supposed to do, and it's gonna take me somewhere, right? And you get frustrated with guests, that's okay, that's on you. But at the end of the day, this is why I'm here, so you know, I'm gonna leverage that. If that makes sense.
And I think, you know, we've just highlighted a whole bunch of intersectionalities at one state with this particular conversation we're having, because you mentioned it's a Nolen Entertainment production, so you're looking at it as this is just as much as my brand as it is Reggie's brand,
Absolutely.
or as it is Intimo's brand, right?
Yeah.
So you're looking at it as a business owner. These entities are probably looking at you as a promoter, a hype man, whatever it is, and they're thinking about their brand and maybe not valuing the fact that you're looking at this like you have ownership in this as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But they're also reaping the benefit. Okay?
Correct.
Reaping the benefit of your care and your intentionality. And there is value to that. And you said, you know, what you said earlier I thought was interesting. We're like, well, as long as there's no problems, they didn't have any issues. Right? Because best believe if there was a problem,
Oh yeah, you're gonna hear about it.
you were going to hear about it.
That's right.
So this is obviously something that you have to just take ownership of and know that regardless of whether I'm getting props for this or not, this is how I'm going to operate my business.
Exactly.
Right? Did you ever have any incidents or any situations where you felt like you were either, you know, scapegoated for something going wrong, or was it just smooth sailing, you know, the whole time mostly, and you just continue to, you know?
Oh yeah.
to
No,
grow?
yeah. There have been some shows that were lackluster.
Okay.
And yeah, no, you hear about that.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
So more so just like the turnout and the vibes
Correct.
weren't hitting. It
Yeah.
wasn't like something went wrong in it.
no real. Yeah, I mean, there have been instances where, like, you know, the band's an hour late for sound check, and then they show up, and then they still want a sound check, and it's like,
Yeah. Okay.
kind of can't do that.
Right.
And you know, if there's pushback from the bands or anything like that, yeah, like that lands in my lap. But nothing too crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a delicate balance when you navigate other people's spaces, and then you have to wear the hat of an operator versus an activator.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're coming into somebody else's spaces and activating their space, as opposed to the role that you're in right now, where you operate this space.
Right.
Maybe not doing as many activations because it's tough to get both of them right.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. I think this is definitely an operational role here at the hotel. I think that the activations look different, right? They're like, we're gonna try hot chocolate instead of decaf coffee, right? Or we're gonna allow free early check-in, all right? We're gonna allow complimentary checkout at noon, you know, things like that. So they're on a smaller scale, but they can still be impactful.
For sure.
But sometimes it just takes some time to actually see it and feel it and hear guests respond to it.
Okay. So now you're here.
Yep.
You're operating in this space. Activations are looking a little different.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
We're sourcing hot chocolate. We're not sourcing bands.
That's right.
But what does that do for you? Because I know what it's like to be in your position.
Yeah.
Now you're not getting off your creative entrepreneur chops like you would like to.
Yeah.
Right. You're not exercising that muscle like you would like to.
Yeah.
Has that been challenging for you? Are you how are you managing that dichotomy now?
No, that's a good point. I
Are you still producing events at Reggie currently?
I am, yes. And to Mason's point earlier, I think that what makes me happy here is, that 90% or so of guests, they come in happy, right? They're on vacation, they're traveling. Now, this weather's not that great, but for the most part, folks come in happy, right? So I like to try to continue on that happiness. So that makes me feel good when a guest comes in and they're happy and we greet them and they go up to their room. And it makes me feel even better when they leave and like, this was a great stay, I'll be back.
Okay.
So that's how I, get my jollies, for lack of a better word, here. And yes, I still do produce shows. I had to bring in some help.
Of course.
And so it's been almost a year. I started working with a young lady named Amanda, and she's been like my event coordinator and assisting me with producing events and assisting me with advancing the shows. So that's been extremely helpful, starting to have a team member for multiple reasons. One, it helps take some of the load off me, but in addition to that, it's somebody to, challenge you, right? Like,
Sure.
You sure we should do that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you know what? Never thought about it. Or
Okay.
This is how I've been doing it. Maybe you should try it this way. So that's been extremely helpful.
Was that not something that you were looking for before? Were you just content handling it solo? Or did you not see an opportunity to grow and expand your operation if you brought more help in?
Yeah, that's a good point. Question. I think that I am a little bit of a control freak.
I was about to say, I knew that was coming. That's how it tends to go.
Yeah. I am, right? And so I've been very hesitant to allow other people into my arena, just because, and this isn't necessarily a reality, but if you do it yourself, it'll get done right. That's not always correct. But I wasn't really looking for it. In fact, a high school colleague, a bandmate of mine, just DM'd me one day on Facebook. I was like, hey, somebody I went to law school with is looking to like get into the music industry, and will you meet with her? I was like, yeah, sure. So we met, hit it off, and yeah, we've been working together almost a year now. It's been extremely helpful. A good friend and artist, AJ Grace, she's actually having a show at Reggie's next month. But with like the social media marketing piece, helping with posts, designing flyers, doing video recaps of the events. And so, honestly, if it wasn't for them, I probably would be in a bad space, because this is an over full-time job, right?
Of course.
A property that's open 24 hours, and you have to, really be present at all times, right? There are guests here 24 hours, have staff here 24 hours. So yeah, a team is how I'm able to continue.
Okay, so all these different themes that we've talked about, from your high school to your college to your professional career, entrepreneurship, relationship building, pivoting back and forth, all this stuff starts to accumulate over time, right? Yeah. You're meeting a lot of people. You're gaining a lot of skill sets. Yeah. You know what it's like to operate, in a corporate space for an employer. You know how it is to operate as an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. You have all these tools in your tool belt now. Yeah. You have all these relationships that you've built. Mm-hmm. What do you hope and what do you aspire to do with them? What does the next chapter and the next level look like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that ultimately, I want to operate my own space in the nightlife. Haven't quite nailed down all the details, but certainly live music. That's my passion. And so taking, as you said, all the tools I've put in my toolbox so far and kind of building my own house.
Sure.
I feel like that's where I would like to be.
Now, talk to me some, so one of the things I've always known about you is, you definitely have the ideal temperament for hospitality.
I appreciate that.
Right? For sure. I've seen you, at work. I've seen you, as a patron, at my place of work. I just know how you interact, and you're very much a solutions-oriented person. Whenever, there's an issue or opportunity at hand, you're kind of always locked in and keeping it, keeping a cool head while you try to work through that.
Yeah.
But I know this industry can be, it can be treacherous.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
So I know even when shit's hitting the fan, or if there's a lot of drama that you're dealing with, I know you're going to still keep the same cool, calm, collected, demeanor. And I know that's imperative and clutch when it comes to growing and progressing.
Yes.
But talk to me about some of the challenges that you've experienced repeatedly over time, and that you know that, okay, if I step into this entrepreneurial space, open my own venue, what are the things that you feel like you've experienced in the past that you're going to have to kind of overcome in order to like succeed independently if you were to take over your own space, or when you do eventually take over your own space?
Yeah, I think that, one of the reoccurring themes that is tricky is, how do you satisfy everybody, right? And it's not possible. But I think you do have to approach hospitality with that mindset, right? And so I think that, the biggest challenge I would have moving into my own space would be not that there aren't good people, right? But finding talent and having talent actually actualize your vision, right? While not like compromising who they are, right? Trying to find a happy medium there, right? Without being, that control freak, still getting a quality product while allowing your talent to shine as well.
Sure. So, I definitely agree with that. I know in my journey and through my experience, the recruiting process is key.
Yeah.
Having the right personnel, having not just talented, capable people, but putting a team together that's cohesive, and having people that work well together and then, fit into that puzzle neatly. Being that we've been highlighting being Black in hospitality, right? And we know there's not many of us doing this at a high level, at least in mainstream spaces or predominantly white spaces.
For sure.
And we know what it's like to operate from the mindset of Black-owned businesses and wanting to lean into that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's enough of education, resource, experienced people within the community? Do you feel like there's opportunity to grow that? Do you feel like it's a challenge to only focus on having Black folks in your space as operators? Or is that something that you're just committed to, like, regardless, I'm just gonna start with us and then get the best of what I can get out of our community? Or is it like, nah, I'm just hiring the best of the best. It doesn't matter what they look like, where they come from. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, I think that we do need, in our community, we do need hospitality training. Okay. I think that, like I said, it starts with putting the guests first, right? However, our communities are built on challenge and struggle, right? And so it's often, a lot of us come from spaces where we're fighting for our lives, right? And we're have been oppressed.
In survival mode, definitely not service mode.
Yeah, right. And so that survival mode doesn't translate to a guest, right? And so, if you are, let's just say, adding a $15 credit card surcharge because you need to make rent, right? That's survival mode, right? Did you sit down and think about, okay, is that fair to a guest, right? Is the guest receiving an experience that warrants this extra charge? If the answer is, well, no, but I have to make my rent, that doesn't work, right? That doesn't put you in a position to have a viable business month over month, year over year.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind when you say that is, first of all, you know, is that an option? Adding that $15 service charge, I get to just do that. But second of all is, you know, two things, you know, like a whole bunch of things come to mind, actually. I'm assuming, okay, there may or may not be another person of color sitting at your table at that point, right?
Correct.
Yes. And we all know, we all know niggas don't tip, right? Typically, right? So now it's the game of, do you just go above and beyond with service, hoping that you get the proper gratuity and proper compensation? Do you do what you got to do to guarantee that you get what you need? Talk to me about,
this is good.
you know, servicing a predominantly Black audience as well, because that's the flip side of the coin. You know, is the market for just Black folks, is that conducive to sustaining a long-running operation? Obviously, there's plenty of people doing it, right? Shout out to, you know, et cetera, and Duplex and any of the OGs that have been in the game. What are your thoughts on, you know, the demographic of our patrons when we present ourselves as Black-owned and for us, by us?
So many thoughts on this. I talk about this with Britt, my partner, all the time. I think there are a couple things at play, right? I think that examples breed success, right? So
I like that. That's a bar.
Yeah. So when you see it and you see it being done well, right? Like, how do you become a good hooper, right? Okay, I'm gonna watch you, right? We're gonna practice, shoot, do some one-on-one, right? So I think what has happened is that our people aren't doing enough research before they go into these businesses, right? Shout out Duplex, not in a predominantly Black neighborhood. Shout out Eric Williams at Virtue, right? He can get the University of Chicago folks there, right? And so we need to be able to take that same concept and put it in a predominantly Black neighborhood and really stick to our guns. But sticking to our guns doesn't mean overcharging, right? Sticking to our guns doesn't mean giving me a $20 drink in a plastic cup.
Facts.
You know,
Facts.
that's not fair, right? Why am I going to another bar in another neighborhood and the drink's $20 in a regular rocks glass, right? So I think that the first thing is see what's working, right? It's you should be doing your research. Go to the restaurant, talk to the manager. They might not want to talk to you, but sit down and eat. Oh, 5 people greeted me. All right, so at my restaurant, 5 people, everybody's gonna say good evening, right? Oh, the lights are on, they're bright, or whatever. The bathroom smells good. You know, like the list, you can go down the list and see what's working and duplicate it. I don't think that's happening. And then once we do get those things, the training isn't there because we don't want to spend the $10K on the hospitality training. Spend it. It'll be the best $10K you ever spent because back to our people not tipping, if I were managing a restaurant, right, like if you give everybody A+ service, those 2 or 3 people that's not going to tip, you're not going to even feel it because John and Susie and Billy are going to be wild and they're going to give you 40% tip and they're going to be your friends and they own a flower shop and you're going to network and it's going to take you wherever you need to go.
Yeah. It goes back to what you said, survival mode versus, you know, being service minded.
Yeah.
If you think that potential non-tipping customer is going to make or break you for the evening, now you're, investing too much energy into a bad outcome as opposed to looking at things holistically.
Bingo.
But, kind of what you said before, that typically is the Black experience.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, you're right. And I think that, my thought on careers has always been, like your toughest job is gonna be your best resume bullet point, right? And so if you are working in X Black-owned restaurant and every customer isn't tipping, still rock that A+ service, then you can take it to Mastro's, right?
Yeah.
Like we would love to keep our people in our community, but if it's not working, still, become the best server for you, not for Uncle Clarence. Do it for you because it's going to take you where you need to be. And if there's a bad operator, it doesn't matter. You can take your talent to South Beach.
Right. No doubt.
So
No, I like that.
Yeah.
I think, you kind of highlight the opportunity and what's going on in the industry, especially with us, very well.
Yeah.
And I love when you said, how'd you phrase it? The example breeds success.
Yeah. Examples
Right?
breed success.
Yeah. So you have to kind of be prepared to show people the blueprint
Yeah.
before it can get replicated.
Yes.
And I think that's what you've exemplified so far, right,
Yeah.
in your career. And
Yeah, I appreciate
that's why I'm really happy that we could get you on this platform to, kind of highlight that and kind of speak on some of your philosophies on how this comes about.
Yeah.
So you see a potential. You got a question?
I don't know if you're about to close or not,
Yeah.
but before you do, I
go
want to
for it.
ask you one more question. You mentioned hospitality training is needed in our communities. Yes, 1,000,000%. And my question to you is from practically, what does that look like? Like how, if best case scenario, we had all of the funding in the world to be able to pull it off, how do we pull it off? What does that look like?
Yeah, I feel like it should operate, and I don't operate restaurants, so if I'm speaking out of turn, I'm sure the comments will let me know. But I feel like it should operate similar to like a food and sanitation license, right? And it can be subsidized by the city or the county or whatever the case may be, right? And you have these entities that are approved by the local government, and this is hospitality training company A, B, or C, right? They will come out, we'll put 5K up, you put the other 5K up, and they will come out and they will train on these things. You'll be certified, right? Choose an individual on your staff to be the trainer, right? So that this training is now ongoing, right? And so now if there's up training or train the trainer, however you want to call it, then a singular person is being trained, right? Shut the restaurant down on a Monday. Everybody come in. We're gonna go over the new napkin folding. I don't know, So I feel like that would help. But more realistically, more practically, you just have to invest, right? You're investing in that grass wall. You invest in
not the grass wall, not the infamous grass wall.
No shade, right? The neon lights.
With the neon lights.
The neon lights, right? You
Good vibes only.
Yeah, you invest in large booths for bottle service, right? Like all of that, and that's great. Those are good investments, but the people make the business. So if you're not investing in your people, then you're gonna have a challenge, right? Even as nice as it looks, if the service is bad, I'm waiting an hour for my food, and the servers aren't communicating that in a nice manner. The manager doesn't come out and apologize and offer a free dessert or whatever the case may be. Like, you're just not gonna last as pretty as your establishment looks. So I really believe it's truly just making that a line item on your budget. When you're sitting down doing your budget for your business, that's got to be on there. Yeah. And if you're getting funding, that's what it's for.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic because, like you said, we're talking about investment, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes that, investment, or you could say capital, right?
Sure. Yeah.
That also needs to be budgeted for. I found a lot of times that, a lot of the Black-owned businesses, that's not a significant part of the budget. Right?
Yeah.
The training isn't a significant part of the budget.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because it is necessary, it is crucial, but when you're black owned, and I've said this to people, and I say it a lot more recently, especially in this type of market.
Yeah.
It can often be an advantage.
Yeah.
Because we have so few options a lot of the times.
Yeah.
That once the community realizes that you're black owned, they're gonna patronize your business more often just because.
Yes.
Even if they have bad experiences, they might double back a couple of times just because the vibes are right, or you're more culturally sensitive to what they need.
Yeah.
So the ongoing training and the opportunity to educate the operators on how things should be done is a very big opportunity. Yeah. But I'm curious what your thoughts are on the fact that even the predominantly white businesses are failing for different reasons now, right? Yeah. The competition is fierce right now. And everyone's got a different philosophy on what Gen Z needs or what the future of hospitality is. Where do you think the industry is shifting to? What things do we need to leave behind? What attitudes do we need to adopt? Who's going to be successful in the future moving forward? What do you think that looks like?
Yeah, I think some of the
best businesses, I think that it's really about taking like core tenets and just expanding on it, right? So if it's you do food really well, right? Then taking that and okay, how do we get it to more people? Just a very basic example, right? But I think that the first thing is, so going back to core tenets, right? Like we have to stop, and I'm being real specific here. This is just a personal beef of mine.
Okay.
Stop adding gratuity onto the check. And I say that not so that it's unfair to the workers, right? But people only respond to incentives.
Right.
So if you're not incentivizing, first of all, good training, right? And then in addition to that, right, incentivizing them by building rapport with the guests, right? If you're not doing that and you're making me pay 20% just because they waited on me.
It's definitely the black tax standard 20%.
It is,
yeah.
and it just doesn't feel fair. I'm not gonna name drop restaurants, but I had a bad experience at a black owned restaurant. Server forgot my drink, which isn't the end of the world, right? It happens. But then you add that, and the food was overpriced, but then you add that 20% on, and he came back and checked on us maybe one time. It just doesn't feel fair. Right. And so I think that, going back to the training, really the future is going back, making connections, right? Because even though social media is very popular, 90%, at least in Chicago, 90% of social media is trying to get people to meet up with each other, right? Go to this restaurant, having a bike night. We're having everybody meet up and let's eat. Everybody meet up and come do yoga, Pilates, right? Like everything is about meeting up. So I think that operators and people in the hospitality space need to continue to work on being nice to people. It's just very that simple. Because like I said, even with this wave of social media, it's just pushing people for in-person interactions.
For sure. And, it kind of brings the conversation full circle, right? Your core competencies and your strengths are your relationship building, right? Yeah. Are you taking the customer and user experience more seriously? Are understanding operations and activations, knowing what it's like to take pride in both and be proficient in both. Yeah. So it's just props to you for being a leader, being a visionary, and being that example that people need to look towards in order to, replicate so we can grow this community and educate, the community on what it means to be black in hospitality and do it at a high level. Because I promise you, when we do it at a high level and we get it right, it's almost like a cheat code.
Yeah, no, for
it's
sure.
Almost a cheat code.
It's amazing. I love serving my people. I love, you know, watching my people enjoy themselves. I think that's, you know, one of the biggest joys of being in entertainment is watching people have a good time. And so, yeah, I agree. It's definitely, when it's done, it's top tier. When it's done right, it's top tier.
Absolutely. So where can, you know, people find you now?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Where can you be
Here.
found? Yeah.
Come say hi. No. Instagram is the best place, at Nolen Entertainment. That's Nolen, Nolen with the E, Entertainment. You can follow me there. Typically the shows I'm producing are there. We'll be putting some things together for the springtime. Need a place to stay in River North, come see me. Found Hotel. You can stop in anytime if I'm not here. Just leave me a message with guest services. But yeah, that's where I am.
No doubt, Brian. Appreciate you for being on the
pleasure.
show, my guy.
My pleasure,
Love.
brother. Yes, sir.
And
Love.
look forward to more collaborations in the future,
Yeah.
you know, on the podcast front, content front, but also with Nolen Entertainment. Look forward to working with you this year and,
sure.
you know, just being a part of that
man.
journey as well. Because
Dope,
very, you know, proud of what you've been able to
Thank
accomplish in the city. There's not too many people doing it the way that you've been doing it for as long as you've been doing it. And looking forward what the future looks like for you, like finally taking hold of your own space and,
Thank you, man.
you know, bringing both facets of who
Yeah.
you are into the same space.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there we have it. You know, Cultural Cachet Podcast episode 3 is in the books. And we'll catch you next time. Peace.
Awesome. Yeah, man.
How we do, how that come out.
Came out good.
Timing
What I
wise.
realized is that